Sal, if Sal is able to 2-0 Jack here, then Sal will win himself a box. If Sal is able to 2-1, he will win a trophy. So either way, as long as Sal wins, there's something to be had. On top of that, these are pretty high stakes. They're both pretty high up. They're sitting currently at table 5. So they're amongst the top 10 of the best players here, certainly fighting to keep that position as they move toward ultimately getting into that top cut, getting into those top 16, trying to get into the piece of that.
Yeah, it's really cool. That bounty thing you all do here is pretty neat. It's a way to kind of like honor and your very talented local players and give all the other players something fun to kind of to look for and a fun little bonus. So we did see somebody win a bounty earlier. If you weren't here on the stream, somebody winning a booster box for 2-0ing one of your rotational bounty players, I think.
Yeah, correct.
And so let's see if we get another booster box given away here.
Absolutely. I mean, and I will say, Devin Broadman, who is the owner of SSG, swell dude, and I've said it before, but it bears repeating. His goal, first of all, he's very passionate about this game. He loves this game. That's number one, and he loves the community. But number two, he wants his players to be the very best players that they could possibly be, and he knows that putting that kind of pressure on them helps them to kind of get to that mental space that you need to be to. You want to really replicate the pressure that it takes when you're sitting on that DLC stage, sitting on that stream table. He's really trying to duplicate that.
That's fascinating way to put it. I love that.
All right, and we are currently starting off, and we see Jack is on the left, we see Sal is on the right, and yeah, we're about to watch the person who, let's be frank here, Jack is the one who innovated Trinidad. Someone actually asked him for the list, and then they placed very well in one of the first tournaments of Arcasia's island, and since then it's kind of been around this day.
Yeah, I love it because they're in the meta as new sets come out. There are decks that evolve, but then aren't just always around, and they may have a different flavor, but they gradually change from time to time. One example is Ruby Amethyst, which looked very different in set 1 than it does now. But that was a gradual process, and then occasionally you see decks pop up that are like brand new. A completely new concept. And although there's elements of Churnadogs which have been around, the whole idea of the deck really became possible because of some of the cards that came out in set 7. And it's kind of new. It's very different than the Lemon Lime Under the Sea decks that we saw earlier. So I'm a big fan.
Me too. I love it. Jack certainly has that dog in him, as we like to say. We joke about it. And yeah, we're going to see that come to fruition. We do see, interestingly enough, I'm seeing some chatter in the chat. They're saying, hey, what happens if Ghosty does a turn 1 Daisy into like turn 2 Daisy? Well, if you ask Jack, he'd love that.
Yeah.
He would love that.
That's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen, and man, that's so difficult to work around.
100%.
Yeah, this deck is just good. I mean, one of the things, let's talk about one of the reasons or why it's good. So one, it is aggressive. It has very aggressive lines with Daisy and Merfolk and other cards. It works in a lot of 4 willpower characters to get around things like the Bell on first turn and some other removal options. But one of the things it's doing is it also has cards that filter, that can dump as you draw cards and you put cards into your discard pile, and your discard pile starts to become a second hand for you because it allows you to do 2 things. One, there are cards which allow you to pull characters back from your discard pile into your hand, allowing you to use them again in the later game. And then 2, or cards that just come out on their own, like Lilo Escape Artist. And then in the later game, the reason it's called Churnadogs, and we get the first part of that, is one of your finishers is dropping that ginormous card onto the board, fueled by the characters in your discard pile. So it's being aggressive, but then it's building up a late game game plan that can close things out.
Absolutely. And conversely, just to give you a little bit of insight, so as we know, there are so many variants of Sapphire Steel. I'm not going to reveal all of the sauce for Sal, but what I will tell you is that he is running more of a lower to the ground version, what some might call Kiwi Birds. That the loving name that's gotten. It does run cards like Alice, so it's a little bit different. It's not going to be this item heavy variant that we're used to seeing, and I won't surprise it. But there's some really cool characters in there too that I'm really excited for you all to see.
Me too. Some that I haven't seen play before. I'll be quite honest.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So we do see Bell is on the table, and we see that alongside that bumbling mate we all know and love.
Yeah, I mean, you don't love him if you're Jack right now. No. I mean, one of the keys to victory for Sal to prevent Jack from running away with the game in the early game here is to get a big board presence out, and getting a 3/3 on turn 1, a 3/3 on turn 2, and a 3/3 on turn 3 with and a 3. Oh my goodness. That's turn 3, and we have
Oh
what?
my gosh.
12 strength on the board. My
Yeah.
goodness.
We call that aggro's worst nightmare.
Yeah, this is this is which side is playing aggro here? I don't even know right now. There we have the escape artist. So Jack doing probably what he wants to do and going wide a bit here. We do have 7 lore on the board represented here now, but gosh, choosing not to quest and put any of his characters at risk here. The downside for this steel deck here is, blue steel Sal over there has been forced to like dump his hand, not ramp. So even though there's a lot on the board, running out of gas a little bit, there's not even any item fuel for Flaversham. Of course, we also know that a lot of characters equals a lot of damage with Strength of Raging Fire. There he is singing it to remove that Daisy Duck, so trying to get some of that lore off the board. But man, we expected the left side of the board here to go wide, and we're seeing Sal do it instead.
It's opposite day, Liam. That's what's going on today. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so we do see like part of the reason why that bell, and we talked a little bit about it just as the last match wrapped up, like the danger of Bell, the ability to sing those songs, and when you're able to just crank them out like this, Strength of a Raging Fire is just an ion cannon of a card at this point, able to take out any of the threats that is going on over here on Jack's side of the board. And yeah, this is normally it's the opposite. Normally it's the other way around. Jack's the one that's supposed to be doing what Sal's doing.
Yeah. So, okay. So what's Jack's game plan here now that there's all this strength on that side of the board? So what he's clearly doing, he knows that Sal's running out of gas. He's used some removal. He's drawn, I think he's 1 card in hand now and drawing, 1 card per turn. So he's trying to protect all of his questers, put a lot on the board, try to close out or get to threaten game with 1 giant quest, and then perhaps use some of his reach cards like Go-Go Tamago to really threaten game. So that's the game plan here. Just go wide. Unfortunately, one of the things that Sal has going for him, let's talk about Smee. Smee is such a valuable card because not only is it a big board presence on turn 2, but it has 2 lore. And so Sal has really turned into the beatdown here, and Jack's game plan of sitting there and letting everything remain ready so that I can quest all at once, it doesn't work when you have to go into aggressive mode. And what just happened there?
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you because it sounded so graceful, but holy moly, was that something wild. That was why. Yeah. So what we just saw was opposite day in full effect, as Sal was the just full on aggro deck. The Alice was pivotal in that plan. Alice, of course, giving other characters the additional lore, giving the other characters ward. But really what helped was that additional lore. That's all Sal needed to close out this game faster than Jack could probably do on his own. So that was quite the match. It was quite fast. We might have another speedway here going for us, and it's not the finish line or the one from Wreck-It Ralph happening right now. This is crazy. So we're about to go into game 2. Jack is going to be on the play. What is Jack thinking? Like, look, I'm trying to be in Jack's mind right now. He has to feel some level of pressure.
Yeah. Well, one, I mean, he knows the bounties on him, right? So he already potentially gave away. Well, yeah, a booster box is in play here still.
He's halfway there. Yeah.
But no, I mean, you're looking for those daisies. You're looking for, the big difference here in that game is the play draw. Jack here on the play now with Daisy able to drop, hopefully go aggressive, go wide, and hopefully have Sal miss that first turn bell. It could be a whole other game. Yeah, I mean, gosh, I don't know. It was just so aggressive.
It was so fast. It was so fast. I mean, I think Jack. I know Jack. I've known Jack for a long time. Jack is a very, very fast player, and what I'm seeing from him, I'm looking at his face, and what I'm seeing right now is just a very pensive look on his face. He's thinking about what he wants to do going in here. They've already completed the mulligans. He's shuffling up and getting ready for it. So I think Jack is locked in. Jack needs to make sure that he can close this out. He now has to figure out a way to win twice, first on the play and then again on the draw, if he's able to close this one out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there are different ways to go here. I mean, you could go the hyper aggressive route and drop your low willpower, high lore questers and just really go aggressive. Or you can play the more conservative route and try to drop some cards like Little John out, which gets you 1 lore, but have that 4 willpower and are a little more sticky and survivable. Here we do see the Lady on turn 1 though. Yeah. Lady, a card that's decent on her own, but really good when paired with her bow on turn 2.
Yeah, and we see now just thinking through this line, these lines of play here. We're on turn 1, so Sal is now getting. Oh goodness gracious! So Jack actually was able to go on a second turn and play 2 Nalas. So Jack is doing the thing that he wants to do, and that means that Sal did not get an item. Was not able to play that bell on turn 1. We do see the Smee.
Oh, and here it is, and pick that. Goodness gracious!
Yep.
So this is what you're seeing here is obviously Sal, as you highlighted, is not on his ideal draw, not able to put that bell right out. And Jack is playing a little more conservatively here,
Yes.
Choosing to go again with those high willpower characters. Once he saw all the Smees and the bells last game, these cards are going to be a little more sticky and require 2 characters to challenge into them, 2 early game characters. But once he sees that bell not being played, knows that there may be a song stranded there and chooses to try to pick that. So this is not as aggressive. But now here comes the daisy.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. I've controlled. So
realizing now what it is that Sal. So Jack understands now what he's faced with. He was able to see Sal's hand. He needs to run for the races at this point. He just needs to go out there, turn character sideways. If he has that tramp, he needs to play that tramp and start to get to that Chernobog and just completely overwhelm this board state.
And here's the bell that Sal would have liked to have several turns ago, but nevertheless making an appearance here. Still a lot of strength, but not as impactful here.
Well, you know what I say, better late than never, but never late is better, Liam.
That's fair. All right. Have a happy come out for a little more board presence.
All right, yeah, so we see Smee taking that damage that it needs to take. It is bumbling after all, and it tripped into something, so it's got to take a damage. We do see the completion of that. So we challenge, sending Smee back to...
Oh no. Oh, there it is, setting up the Rapunzel. Walk. I mean, Sal was doing what he needed to do, clean up the board, take care of some characters, and there it is, running into that daisy, getting full value out of that Rapunzel. 3 cards off that heel. It pairs so nicely with Daisy Duck, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah, it absolutely. That is such a good combo, and it's hard to work around. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Not deal with Daisy? You got to deal with it. You got to figure something out. And yeah, just using Rapunzel so masterfully there. Oh, interesting card. We see that's Wendy Darling that just hit the table. Wendy Darling is a 3 strength, 1 willpower character. It's got ward and it has support with 2 lore to quest with.
Support is an ability. It's been around all the way since set 1. And it's an ability that people realize is there. It's not used terribly often, but when you talk to a lot of Lorcana players, they will tell you, a lot of really good Lorcana players, they'll tell you support is a fantastic ability. On especially on the right card with a high lore quest or a card with ward like Wendy Darling. So yeah, let's see what happens with it here. Out of Cricky coming down.
Oh, okay. Cricky so strong. Cricky turns these little tiny characters, these 0 in Nala's cases and 1 strength characters, just turns them into some very, very dangerous threats. Nala able to take out Bell and survive, which is a big deal. You don't, if you're the Sapphire Steel player, you're not necessarily wanting to waste time or to waste play actions to deal with them. And so Jack is saying, cool, don't worry about it. I'll take care of that for you.
At this point, developed a pretty wide board state here. Not a lot of wide removal around these days, other than, be prepared. Nobody's running grab your swords. Tinkerbell's run sparingly.
Yep.
So once this board state builds up at this point, Sal's going to have to either devote resources to sing a bunch of songs, or they were developing a Cogsworth on the board. Fantastic card. Everybody hates to play against it, giving everything ward or giving everything resist.
Yeah.
But at this point in the game, I mean, it's not a lot of strength.
It isn't a lot of strength. The characters that Jack is playing aren't really, with the exception of having played that Cricky, they're not really there to challenge. And Jack's also not really playing those songs or those actions at the same rate, say, as Sal is, in terms of getting some damage done. And it looks like that might have been,
that was it.
Was that?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that might have been it. So look, as we mentioned earlier, as Liam so eloquently put it, the goal here, of course, is to play Chernobog, the first half of the namesake of the deck, a strong character with 10 cost, except the cool thing here with the power of evil, for each character card that is in your discard, you pay 1 less to play this character. So while it has a written cost of 10, you rarely play it for 10, and even more, Chernadog, let's go ahead and let's talk about that second half. Woof, woof, everybody, is that we play Tramp. And for every character that you have in play, you get to pay one less to play that Tramp. You get to draw a card for every character that's in play, every other character that's in play. And then you discard an equal number of cards. And so the goal here, of course, is to dump as many characters into your discard pile while keeping Chernabog, and then playing that Chernabog for free after having played Tramp for extremely discounted. And now you have these great lore questing, heavy presence in terms of questing, and you've got a 9/9 just monster of a character.
Yeah, it's great description of the deck. You know, one of the problems that aggro decks often run into, especially in Lorcana, is that they don't have a second act. Oftentimes that second act becomes like trying to draw into goats frantically and closing the game out that way, or you know, seeking knowledge and wisdom, and it's not very fun. But what makes this deck fun is it can be very aggressive. And it's designed to be in the early game, but then Chernabog gives it a second act, as well as some other cards which pop out of the discard pile. So that's what I really enjoy about watching this is, you know, even if it kind of burns out in the mid game and the opponent gains control of the board, there's a way for this deck to turn things around and come back and win.
Yeah, and I've heard so many players share a sentiment that I'm about to share, and that's like a lot of players may say, you know what I love about decks that are fast like this is either I'm going to win fast or I'm going to lose fast. And while it seems like a joke to say that, you have to remember these players are going through 7-8 rounds of Swiss, depending on what size tournament we're at. They're going through multiple rounds of Top Cut. It is a very taxing thing to do. And so the more opportunity that you give yourself to rest in between these matches, that can go a very, very long way for you in terms of being successful in tournament, in any kind of competitive play.
No, it's well said. Definitely part of the game. But here we have Sal opening up with his ideal turn 1, playing an item, then eating it immediately, play the bell. We have another bell on turn 2. So not the ideal opening, you know, a Smee or a ramp card instead would have been better, but for sure getting 2 3/3s out on turn 3 is fantastic into this matchup. And on the play, it's gonna be a lot to overcome here. We do see the Ursula Deceiver come down. We are gonna pick a song. Strength of Raging Fire is there. That feels good. But then it's back over to Sal.
Yeah, and we did see a Pluto and an Alice, and what we do see drawn for Sal on this turn was a Fortisphere as well. So, you know, the options to either ink, there you go. So Alice comes down. Alice was very, very critical for Sal in game 1, won the game for him. Sal's hoping to do that again.
Yeah. And you know, Alice, fantastic card on her own, but when you pair it with a card like Pluto, it's really brutal.
Oh my goodness!
Look, and here's this deck is called Chernadogs, dog being part of the name, and here they come, Lady and Tramp in a very specific order. Tramp getting a little bit cheaper if Lady is in play. So 3 dogs now on the board, and Jack is going wide.
There's no need to ask who let the dogs out. It was clearly Jack. It was clearly Jack.
Jack.
All right, we do see we're currently in the 4th ink turn, and Pluto deciding to put that in bodyguard mode. So we're looking to protect what he's about to do, which likely will be a questing with Alice to give Belle an additional lore to quest with, to go up to 7 total lore for now for this turn and for this game so far.
Yeah, this is a card that I've seen. Pluto and Alice are cards that I've seen paired together quite a bit, and Alice, so good. She has 2 parts of her ability. I mean, the one gives the extra lore, and you can use it in this case for getting Belle a little bit more lore. She can be a little more aggressive. Or in a pinch, if you're playing a control deck, you can instead choose to give your Pluto ward. And now not only is it a 5/5 bodyguard, but your opponent can't ping it with anything to get rid of its extra strength or remove it a different way. You have to run something into it. So I love this combination, and Alice here is going to do some work.
Oh, it's here. It's here, folks. It's here. Tramp has come down. We're going to draw some cards. We're going to discard some cards. Jack is hoping to see Chernabog. Jack is hoping to see, there you go. You see Jack is with the speed, putting characters into the discard pile. That thing that we showed you earlier, Jack is doing the thing, Liam.
I'm really excited to see it. I mean, we're seeing, we showed those cards up front for a reason, and here it is. I am willing to bet this deck is, if it's not all characters, it's pretty darn close. So we can see that everything in that discard pile is likely to make Chernabog a little bit cheaper. But here the problem for Jack is, he doesn't want to be into the control role, running his characters into opposing characters. And now Sal is starting to build up, a decent number of lore on the board. Not only is Alice 2 on her own, but she gives something else too. So that Belle is effectively 2, making it 4, plus the Pluto is 5. And now Happy will be 6, even though he can't quest this turn. So if Sal is able to quest a little bit more forcing Jack into responding with his characters. That's not where he wants to be.
It's not. And assuming that Pluto is used, oh, and Pluto will be given the ward just to protect it a little bit more. But now that Pluto has been turned sideways, is exerted, that kind of messes up the math a little bit for Jack. Jack needs to figure out the math. Oh my goodness. And Cricky with the calculator coming to solve problems.
Well, and here it is. And so let's take a look at these stat lines here. That 2/6 stat line so impactful here. That is, so Pluto does get extra strength, you know, giving him 5 when he's not damaged, but that Tramp able to take out that Pluto cleanly with 5 damage counters on it. So what an impactful stat line, what an impactful turn.
Yes, that Cricky was so important for that Cricky made the entire difference for Jack. Jack is now in a position of power.
That changed the whole game there, because at this point Sal is thinking everything's fairly protected. I've got ward on my Pluto. It's a 5/5. You know, Jack's gonna have to run 2 characters into it. There's no removal in this deck, so to speak of. And that Cricky coming down and just doing with the Tramp on the board, like that combo has to be there. Tramp the turn before, then the Cricky on turn 5. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic play.
Jack's such a good player. I will tell you, one of his superpowers is being able to tell what happens 3-4 turns into the future and how things need to be. He's just so good at that. For anybody who ever plays him, yeah, you'll definitely see that. And we see now that Jack has had a great turn controlling the board, Jack knows that there needs to come a time where we just turn the Jets on and start moving. And so we're seeing Lilo come down. We're seeing Cricky, who's got a lot of lore themselves, just moving forward and now putting Sal in the position that you need to deal with me and not the other way around.
Yeah, Jack clearly switching roles here from the control role into the beatdown role. And starting to push the lore totals, now forcing Sal to respond. If you haven't read that article, great article from back in the day on the beatdown, definitely look it up.
Yes,
I like to mention it. I would talk more about it, but I'm enthralled by what's going on here right now.
Both.
Now, I have to take a look. I think Jack is top decking, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. At this point, yes. Oh, okay.
Yep. Cogsworth coming down. We won't even bother to put damage counters on Cogsworth because we're going to immediately gonna heal him with the popsicle.
Yeah, absolutely. And this Cogsworth does mess with the math. We talk about math. We talked about Cricky bringing the calculator. Well, Cogsworth is the division button on that calculator. So Cogsworth makes challenging math very, very interesting. Now Jack is thinking, okay, well, how do I maneuver around this resist? How can I use the least number of characters to deal with the most number of problems? The goal of any trading card game, Disney Lorcana no exception, is you want to make efficient trades. You want to be able to say, my character survived and yours didn't. I got one more card and you don't. And so now that's harder for Jack going into this turn, specifically because of that tragic grandfather clock.
Absolutely. Resist. I mean, yeah, resist. The number of times that I've run things into other characters forgetting they have resist or doing the math wrong, it's terrible. They shouldn't let me near Lorcana cards.
What I will say, though, is that my opponents are generally empathetic when I do that. Most of the things are like, no, you can't take it back. But resist, there's something about resist that all players unite on, and they say, it's all right.
That's true. It's all right. I understand. I understand. I've been there before.
I've done it too.
Here, Pluto comes out in bodyguard position.
Yep. Yeah, which again, it creates more awkward math for Jack. You've got the resist, you've got a bodyguard character now you have to work through. So that is making this difficult. Jack had a very powerful turn, but Sal is here to turn that around. And we're going to see if he's able to.
Yeah, and just so much math going on here right now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about reach cards. So we're at the point, we're at 15, and there's a scenario here where Sal gets control of most of the board. We see him start to clear things up here, get rid of that Cricky.
Yep.
But there's, and that's important for a big reason here.
Absolutely.
But there's certain reach cards in Jack's deck which allow him to close things out on the right draw. One of them is Go-Go Tamago. And I see we're indicating here what's going on with this damage on Bianca. I don't know what happened. Was there a popsicle in play that I missed?
What's that?
Where, how did Bianca not take?
Because
of the resist. Yep.
The resist. Yeah.
Okay. So
that silly clock.
What removed the Cricky though?
He attacked it with. Oh, what did he attack it with? He did attack.
I thought it was, there must have been a popsicle I missed, because I thought he did attack it with the Bianca, which would have been 3 damage counters. And the reason I'm harping on damage counters here so much and wanting to keep track of them is Go-Go is one of the ways that Jack is looking to close out this game.
Yeah.
So with the right top deck that represents instant lore, so one of the dangers that Sal has to think about here is he's got some very high willpower characters on his side of the board, able to stack up, 4 damage counters in some scenarios. So you have to start thinking about characters on Jack's side of the board as representing lore, not just on their lore value, but also based on their strength. Luckily for Sal in this scenario, though, not a lot of high strength characters on the board, so not something he has to think about. But
yeah, and I'll tell you, so I had a conversation with Jack, and one of the changes that he made to his deck recently, he had 2 Go-Go Tamagos in his deck. He went to 3, and the reason he told me was because he wanted to see it more. I am willing to bet that's exactly how he's feeling right now. Where is that 3rd Go-Go? I put 3 of you in here for a reason. Where are you?
Or send that Lilo escape artist back to the discard pile. I'm willing to bet she may escape again next turn.
Yeah.
And doing some cleanup duty here.
Interesting. Yeah, and Sal has officially put himself back in control of this game.
5, 6. So we're not at game yet next turn, but keep an eye on those. There's a Rapunzel. Okay. Not a terrible card to have here because it has some high willpower. But here's the thing to think about. That Go-Go with those 2 damage counters there represents 2 lore. And so a top deck of Go-Go with that Rapunzel sticking around wins the game. There's also, if that Rapunzel sticks around, and it won't, so it won't even matter. No. Oh, goodness gracious. That is
tough. That is tough.
I'd love to know if that was the Go-Go. We're not going to see. It doesn't look like it. It's a Kit Cloud Kicker and another Tramp. Oh, goodness gracious.